Hello and welcome. Today I will be your host. If you don't know me, I'm Philip from the Translators Tech Corner channel, and you are watching Robert's channel, Freelance Translator Tips. And what are we doing today? We are getting an overview of memoQ, and that's the second CAT tool in our series on desktop CAT tools, and we'll go do that now, and after that you can go watch the detailed startup guide on my channel. So are you ready for this? Let's get started. So today we'll be looking at memoQ and we'll be looking at individual use because we are making this video to be geared towards freelance translators. So that's the point of view that we're going to try to have looking at that. memoQ, as you may know, has a very good reputation among the likes of WordFast, SD Altrados, and all these tools that have a solid reputation among translators. And so let's start by first looking at what is their pricing strategy. So when you buy memoQ, you get a license for life without update. So that's something important. So you buy a license and memoQ will never stop working as long as it's compatible with the operating software that is on your computer. So that's the price to get it. So that's 620 euros, and this price, as you can see, excludes VAT. Okay, so that's 620 plus VAT depending on the country you are in. And then you get 1 year of updates with that. And after that, well, that's it. Your version of memoQ will stay the same. Unless you buy every year what they call an SMA. What is an SMA? Well, it's a support and maintenance agreement. And basically what it does is if you pay that for a year, so here it's 124 euros, plus then you have to add VAT on top of it, you get updates for a year, and you also get support. So when you're contacting their hotline, well, as long as you pay this yearly SMA, well, you get that support. So basically, when you're looking at memoQ, it's a good idea to crunch the numbers and see what your return on investment will be over a few years of translation. You can also get a 30 days trial, and that will work just once in the lifetime of your computer. So it will be once 30 days on the computer that you'll try that on, and then you won't be able to do that again. Now, to get memoQ, if you want to get a discount, well, sometimes there are discounts. You can try maybe to get that on pros sometimes. And once you have purchased memoQ and you run out of SMA, well, after a while, sometimes they do a campaign and you get the SMA for a little bit less. So memoQ, as you can see, it runs on PC, and that's it. memoQ runs only on Windows PC. If you want to use it on a Mac or a Linux machine, you can do it as long as you do it in a virtual machine. So you need to use virtualization for that. But other than that, it works only on Windows machines. And it is a pretty big tool. It has a lot of functionalities. It can go from simple to very advanced. And to make it work to the full, it's better if you have a machine that has enough power to do it. So when you are translating, well, that's the standard view that you get. So you will have all your translation happening here with your source and your target column. You can also do a variant of that with a stacked view. Underneath that, you can get your view pane that allows you to see your translation as you're working on it, and it also allows you to navigate. So for example, if I click here, it brings me to this segment, and it goes also in the other direction. Okay, so you can do it like that. Now it is an HTML preview, so you don't get the full extent of the appearance of your target file, but you do get a pretty good idea. Now this pane can be moved and put on a secondary screen if you want. On the right hand side here, this is where you get all your suggestions. So you will get every hit from the translation memory, anything that comes from your glossaries, which are called term bases in memoQ, and whatever you want to not have translated, or warning words, which will appear here in black. So you get all that all here in that spot. You can filter out what you see here. You can filter the segments using this drop-down menu here, and you have a few options to filter that, and you can extend these options. So that's a handy feature depending on what you want to see. It has a very good review system with track changes to do reviews between a translator and an editor, for example. And memoQ has a few features of its own. So of course you can manage your translation memories, and you can manage your term bases or glossaries if you prefer. But it also integrates what is called muses, which is very specific to memoQ. And basically what muses do is you feed them a translation memory, and they will use that to help you as you type. So it's the same way as when you're using your smartphone, you're typing, and there's an autocomplete to help you complete a word. Well, the same thing can happen here and can be based on text that you have translated in the past, and it can help you. So it's to help with predictive typing. You also can use live docs, and live docs is a feature that is basically alignment. So you take two files that have been translated and you convert them in a translation memory. That involves a little bit of work, but they can be used also as reference docs, and you can have memoQ try and find suggestions from what you will put in live docs to help you with your translation. And to connect translation memories, well, you will need to go into settings. For example, here, click on empty. And now you will use that system, and that presentation, you will find that presentation often in memoQ. And first, you need to create something here. So if it hasn't been created, you need to create something, give it a name. And once you've done that, then you can open it, and you will be given many options for plugins. Okay, so they work as plugins. They are the plugin system is closed. memoQ handles it, but they do have these plugins that are made in collaboration with these providers. And when you start connecting them, so let's say for example I want to connect to DeepL. I click on that, and now I can configure the plugin and give my API key. So that's the way it works in memoQ with these plugins and with MTs. If you want to have a little bit of fun, well, memoQ has some gadgets that you can find in this menu. In options, you have the Gozen menu that will, the Gozen button that will play you some music and make sounds when you click. Then you can click on mostly silent, that will turn off the music but keep the sounds when you click. And you have the famous do not press this button, which is just for you to have a bit of fun. When you're going cuckoo while you're translating, well, you can play with that button. And that's also where you can exit from the cat tool. Regarding compatibility, well, memoQ is very compatible with SDL Trados. So if you know that you will have to work often with SDL Trados, they have an integrated system that allows you to exchange packages, and it works very well. It integrates just in one go term bases and translation memories, so you don't really need to do a lot. It just does it for you. So that's something that works pretty solid in memoQ. Compatibility with WordFast, there is this WordFast Classic bilingual doc files, and that's for WordFast Classic. It's not for WordFast Pro, and that works. It says it handles TXML, which is now the old style file system. Now it's TXLF, the newest one, and translation memory, well then it will integrate TMX like any other CAT tool. It says it can handle start transit packages. I haven't tested it, but it says it does, and some other tools. And it does import the same as other tools like XLIF, translation memories as TMXs, and terminology as TBX, CSV, etc. Now, one thing I haven't mentioned is that with memoQ, when you go back to the dashboard, so if you have, for example, closed your project and you go back to the very beginning, you can see here, so I have a local project, but you can get also cloud projects. So some LSPs will have the full memoQ system with cloud-based projects, and basically they'll send you an email, you double-click on the email, and on an icon, you double-click. They will send you an email, you double-click on an icon in the email, and your project will integrate automatically in memoQ, and it will have then a cloud icon in front of it saying it's a cloud project. Now, another thing that memoQ does is it gives you in the right-click context menu the option to translate with memoQ, and so it takes you directly into memoQ, and then you have to configure your project to be able to translate that particular file. Now let's talk about support with memoQ. So like we said before, if you pay for the SMA or if you have 1 year, if you're still within your first year of buying a license, well, you do get the help of their hotline, so you can get support by contacting them. Of course, they do have help pages that are fairly complete. You get a lot of information. Now it's sorted in a bit of a weird way. You get a lot of documentation stored in what they call places, and then another area which they call things. These pages are quite well made. Sometimes you get a lot of text and not many screenshots, but that should help you to find the information you want. There is a Facebook community that has nearly 3,000 people on that group, and there is a group community on group.io which has about 1,000 people on it and seems to be quite active. And of course you have pros.com. Now regarding training, they do host some webinars, and so you have to go and book a seat and get contacted by email to see what the pricing is. There is some free information available as well on their YouTube channel on the internet, and I think someone also made a training on Udemy. Now regarding the email habits of memoQ, I'd say they're in the average, so you will get some emails if you don't purchase. They will email you quite a bit, so just know that. So a bit as a conclusion, what is the feel when you work with memoQ as a translator? Well, it is a very powerful tool, and memoQ has a lot of functionalities. So if you're using basic functionalities, that should be fairly straightforward. What you need to do is get used to the vocabulary they use, because they use some specific naming schemes for certain things, and you need to get used to what are these things, live docs and all that. Depending on how much technical training you have regarding your use of CAT tools, well, your experience with memoQ will differ. But it is a very solid CAT tool. And if you want to know how to get started with it, how to start your project and use the basic functionalities, well, that video will be posted on my channel, Translators Tech Corner, and Robert will put a link for that somewhere around here. Okay, I hope this video will be useful to you, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye bye.